Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to a man who served Illinois, our country, and people from other nations around the world for decades before his death this weekend at age 91. That man is Senator Charles H. Percy of Illinois. Already his life, legend, and list of accomplishments as a senator, a statesman, and a larger-than-life political figure are well documented. Others have articulated these things far better than I could today, and I'm confident that history will recount them as well. But, Mr. Speaker, what I wish to convey today are the warm and wonderful stories and the testimonies about Chuck Percy that have only come to me from those who knew him and loved him and those whose views and sentiments I hold in the highest regard. Their stories are not always suited for publication or statements on the House or Senate floor, but they are funny, warm, endearing, and genuine. They reflect the incredible love of life, humanity, and humor that made working for or with Senator Percy so incomparable. These volunteers, former members, and political leaders cannot address the House about him today, but I can, and it is my honor to do so. There are some of the finest leaders of Illinois today, the State Controller, Judy Biggert, who launched her first campaign for office years ago after serving as a Percy campaign coordinator. They are State Treasurer Don Rutherford and U.S. Senator Mark Kirk, who served on the Youth for Percy Brigade. They are former Congresswoman and U.S. Labor Secretary Lynn Martin, whose very first campaign as a volunteer was to help elect Chuck Percy. And you just heard from Representative Dave Dreyer on his reflections of his being with Chuck Percy. If you talk to them, they will say that the enthusiasm and commitment to making a better state, country, and world are what motivated them to answer the call and launch their own political careers. His energy and enthusiasm, his openness to offering views, and his passion for improvement were infectious. They will tell you of a dark moment of loss or sadness or disappointment in their lives when he was there for them with a loving phone call or note. He was, in a word, an inspiration to all of them. They are former Illinois governors, Jim Thompson and Jim Edgar, whose natural talents thrived under Chuck Percy's guidance and inspiration. He saw in them the makings of outstanding leaders, and they succeeded in their own right. He never looked over his shoulder, worrying about those who might challenge his own leadership. He embraced them, encouraged them, and made them success to his success. Unlike others in politics today, his generosity to others was boundless and without the slightest hint of envy or competitiveness. With Chuck Percy, there was no zero sum. There was only pluses for everyone. They also gave the other leaders there are also the other leaders outside of Illinois. The former HUD Secretary and USTR Ambassador Carla Hills, who first headed Percy's Alliance to Save Energy in the 1970s, and when it became clear to Percy that our reliance on foreign oil was unsustainable. There are former Senator Fred Thompson, in whom Percy saw a brilliant prosecutor and future star of the Senate. There are those who went on to become leaders in their own countries, like the late Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, and President of Lebanon, Rafiq Hariri, both of whom strove for peace and tragically were cut down by assassination. They are federal district and appellate court judges and a Supreme Court justice whose service to our country might never have been possible were it not for the fact that Chuck Percy believed in them and believed that the cronyism and corruption in judicial selection must end. He saw in them a commitment to the law, the Constitution, and justice, and with them helped to transform the Illinois bar from one of those the most corrupt in the country to one of those the most respected. And last but not least, there are thousands of staff members and volunteers whose lives were forever changed and guided by this dear man whom they referred to simply as CHP, or the Senator. They are a formidable network of outstanding individuals who are devoted to him as they each are to each other and to the public service. Each of them has gone on to do good things because of the confidence that he inspired in them and the belief and his belief that everything is possible if only you want to work hard enough for it. They are my constituents and volunteers. They are my Chief of Staff, Kathy Lydon, and Chief of Volunteers, Carolyn Stillman, and many others, and all the outstanding people that I've met through their fellowship. They are hundreds of Illinois and Washington businessmen, lawyers, teachers, homemakers, and yes, even reporters whose lives were forever changed by this special man. To a one they would say, there is no one quite like Chuck Percy. So today, Mr. Speaker, I want to say to them and to the Percy family, Lorraine, Sharon, and Senator Jay, Roger, and Penny, Gail, and Wade, Mark, and Leslie, and all of their wonderful children and grandchildren and family, that our thoughts and prayers are with you. We thank you for sharing this wonderful man with us, with the people of Illinois, America, and the world. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back her time. The chair recognizes the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Butterfield, for 5 minutes.